Welcome to Company Showcase, an advertising feature on HowStreet.com.
I'm Jim Goddard. My guest is Tony Mitchell, Director of Marketing for RecycLiCo. Tony, welcome back to Company Showcase.
Great to be back, Jim.
Tony, how are things going with the Taiwan joint venture?
Well, Jim, by all accounts, things are moving along nicely. Our design team just got back from Taiwan, where they were working closely with Zenith's team to go over our plans, tighten up design requirements, measure fitment of on-site equipment, and a whole host of details related to the final specs before nailing down the final plans and commencing the fabrication of our first modular plant here in Vancouver. So it's exciting times for everyone, as this is one of the key milestones we've been all looking forward to checking off our long list of to-dos on the way to commissioning our Taiwan clean spot operations late next year. And, it's important for everyone to keep in mind that once we begin operations and switch from being a leading early-stage innovator with a patent process to a real-world business generating significant revenue in a space that's ripe for a massive growth, it will be a big wake-up call to the battery industry that there's a new game in town and a major player has stepped up to bat.
Is interest also picking up in other areas in Asia?
Yeah, Jim, it certainly is. While we're still in negotiations with a number of large joint venture testing partners around the globe, interest in India in particular is reaching a fever pitch. There's always been an outsized interest in the RecycLiCo patented process from various parties within India who wish to get into the lithium-ion battery recycling space. And when it comes to the stats, it's easy to see why this is the case. India has approximately 1.5 billion people, and with 78% of them using mobile devices to access the internet, this adds up to a lot of lithium-ion batteries, and that's before you take into account the growth of India's EV industry. So when you pair those facts with India traditionally being a hotbed for entrepreneurial innovation and RecycLiCo's recently expanded Indian patent portfolio, it's a no-brainer to realize why the interest in our process has become greater than ever before. So we are interacting with a number of interested parties at various stages of development, from startups in the very early phases of planning on up to major players who wish to recoup the capital locked within their battery cathode scrap. They all know we have a highly efficient solution that can be the difference between a not-so-profitable and a highly profitable battery recycling business. And as we've been proving what we can do with battery waste since 2016, they know we're in it for the long haul.
So being a leading innovator in the battery recycling space over that span of time must give you a unique perspective.
Yes, Jim, it certainly does. We're about 8 years into the development of the RecycLiCo patented process. But we're still in the early days of adoption, or put another way, the fusion of our revolutionary process. You see, the rate of adoption of innovative technology and business plans such as ours typically follows a well-established bell curve through 5 different psychological groups. The first group are the innovators, such as Zenith in Taiwan, who went through our testing program, did their due diligence, and quickly recognized the value of what we have to offer and wanted to do a deal with us ASAP. Then you have the early adopters. They're highly interested in working together and are motivated to do a deal as well. Just comes down to also doing their due diligence and making the right deal to move forward with. From there, you have a steep ramp-up with a large early majority who typically wait to see how the innovators and early adopters are doing with the integration of a process before they commit to doing the same. Once they come on the scene, though, it's all hands on deck for rapid growth. But then you have the large late majority who have seen the tide turn, and it's become obvious that a process is making a significant difference to the operations of their fellow battery recyclers and manufacturers, and want to look into adopting it themselves. And then lastly, you have the laggards. These are the operations which, for one reason or another, have been locked into doing things a certain way and, finally realize it makes much more sense to do the same as everyone else. The interesting thing from my perspective, Jim, is that while the innovators such as Zenith are taking an initial risk, they also stand to reap the largest financial benefit, as they will be set up best to efficiently process cathode scrap, the low-hanging fruit of today's battery industry, But when the end-of-life batteries finally reach a large enough volume, the innovators can end up having a massive, outsized advantage in experience and financial gain after many years of handling battery waste versus, latter groups, such as the laggards and the late adopters, who waited to integrate our process into their operations or decided to work with less efficient third-party hub and spoke operations. All that said, our solution of enabling joint venture partners to efficiently recover and reuse their battery materials in-house without sending their valuable waste out to third parties only to buy it back at a multiple of its initial value, it's a very clear, logical solution to a major problem battery producers and recyclers are dealing with today and will be dealing with well into the future. And for those listening who have been, following and invested in RecycLiCo for many years, you'll understand that from what I've outlined, we're still in the very early days of the global diffusion of our innovative lithium-ion battery recycling technology. And I'm truly looking forward to rolling out our modular RecycLiCo clean spots to ultimately become the gold standard in lithium-ion battery recycling around the world. And Jim, I'm going to include a link to a webpage which outlines the diffusion of innovation theory. I think some of our listeners will find it pretty interesting.
For people new to RecycLiCo, where are you traded and how can they get more information?
Well, Jim, we're traded on the TSX Venture under the ticker symbol AMY, on the OTCQB under the ticker symbol AMYZF, and on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol ID4. And you can get more information on our website at RecycLiCo.com.
Tony, thank you so much for the update.
Thank you, Jim.
My guest has been Tony Mitchell, Director of Marketing for RecycLiCo. I'm Jim Goddard. Our conversation took place on March 27th.
Comments made on Company Showcase are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at HowStreet.com. Company Showcase is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.